Fishing for bass, late summer. Most of you guys know around our region and probably throughout the country, temperatures are above 95, between 95 and 105 degrees. So we're really not in that fall transition typical speak. So when we're talking about baits for September, I'm going to start this series on TikTok and YouTube. YouTube would be the whole video, but this one will just be transitioning bait options for right now, early September, 95 to 100 degrees. And then as we move through towards late September, early October, we'll get to the other baits, okay, that are going to be your optimum baits like jerk baits and things like that when the water temperatures come down. The water temperature on the river today is 86.7 degrees, okay? So what you really want to do, your number one bait, your number one go-to bait outside of early morning topwater is going to be your spins. It's either going to be a traditional underspin. Okay, this is a 5/16. Obviously, your options for this bait are very, very wide spectrum of whatever, pick your poison. You can put a paddle tail swim bait on it. You can invert the swim bait. You can put a fluke on it. You can put any number of things on it that you want to put on it, anything. Okay, any kind of soft plastic that you want to do. But the underspin with the flash is going to be primarily, and is right now, really the one that's catching a lot more fish than other than some finesse presentations. Okay, so you've got a smaller size option. Okay, matching your bait fish right now. Remember, you've already gone through shad spawn and bluegill spawn, right? Late summer. So they're very, very small, okay? And your bass are going to be feeding up on this. You want to use an underspin? Here's some options. Here's some colorations for me in my in the DMV. That's the District of Maryland and Virginia for our river systems. I like a natural bait fish color. I like a lot of action in the tail, okay, when I'm running an underspin, okay? Colorations, okay? You can match those based on what you want. For some reason, I can't explain it. As the water temperature starts to drop down a little bit, for some reason, the plums, the pinks, the plums, the morning dawn colors in a lot of reservoirs and lakes in Maryland and Virginia seems to be highly, highly effective. In the river systems, for me, it tends to be darker colorations, okay? Stuff that mimics the bait fish that you have, all right? Here's a really good example of another underspin. The larger size underspin is probably one of my most effective baits throughout most of the year on the upper Potomac and the tidal Potomac. And you can just change out, like I said, that's just a classic paddle take. You see how beat up this is. Got to retouch that up a little bit. Yeah, that's what you want. And then obviously the opposite is the top spin. Again, the reverse on the flash. So this, the top spin from first gen, okay, fishing. Basically, you can use the same exact baits that you're going to use for your underspin, okay? But you're using it on a top spin, which is completely different. And I always oversize. So what does that mean? That means I'm always go for a step up. If I think I should be throwing an 1/8 of an ounce, I'm going to throw a 1/4 of an ounce. If I think I'm going to be throwing a 1/4 of an ounce, I always go one step up, and here's why when I throw a top spin. It's going to bury, okay? 2 feet of water in the river system now, so that makes it a little bit harder. But when we're at 3.5 to 4 feet of water, I use that up one because I like for it to get down a little faster to the bottom, hit the bottom, create a little bit of a, the cloud, okay, on the bottom. And this stays spinning, okay, as you're working it. You're slowly moving it. It's still moving. An underspin, if you do that, is going to rest on the bottom like this. Okay, you're not going to get any flash. You're not going to get anything. You're basically going to have to vertically jig that kind of spin. That's really not what it's made for. That's my interpretation. Now, there are obviously other people who have a different opinion in terms of that, how effective. I prefer these in deep, a little bit more water than 2 or 3 feet, so I can stay above, maybe above around a grass line, outside of a mat line. Grass on top, staying in the seam of your current flow. That's preferably where I like to use the underspin. The top spin, however, I can run it all over. Okay, I can bounce this off the rock. Okay, and my top spin blade is still doing it with the flash. So if they see it, they come over it, they see that that little cloud, they see this, they see that flash, they see it moving. They're coming down on it, okay? And that flash mates is a really good key okay, for them to key on a bait, all right? And I like the fact that it's right there. Look at that. Look at that. Right on that hook. So if they hit that flash, right, they're hitting that hook, okay? It's just a really easy, lightweight, finessey way to catch smallmouth bass, you know, in this late summer period. So this is number one, is your underspin. We're going to do underspins. We're going to do swim baits, square bills. We'll talk some chatter and jerk baits towards the end of the month when the water temperature drops down below 75 degrees. That's when I'll start to break out that jerk bait. This could happen on the reservoirs that have a coldness, dam, cold underneath, faster than, say, the rivers, because, again, the rivers are at like 2 feet or less. Point of Rocks, Maryland is less than a foot, okay? That's crazy, all right? So you gotta, when you see these videos on top baits for September, so September is a transitional month, a repositioning month for smallmouth bass, but it's a very different month. It's 3 or 4 patterns in that month because of what you're going to experience now after Labor Day with the high temps, and the water temps are crazy, and then where we're going to be 3-4 weeks from now. So the baits that are going to work for you this week probably aren't going to be your go-to baits by the end of the month, okay? If the weather patterns hold and history proves true, right? In terms of, we will start to see temperatures drop. We're getting cooler nights. It's already getting cooler nights. If you consider 70 degrees cooler and 65 degrees cooler, we want to get under 50 degrees. And then that's when we're going to get some feeding and some up in our smallmouths. But you could still work that. You could still work that early morning frog, and I'll talk about that in the next video. Or your top water early in the morning, 5:30 a.m. to 7:15 seems to be that window. And then after 7:30, most things seem to be shutting down. So again, you're still out on the water. You don't want to sit there and not have any baits in the water. So you want to try to increase your enticement when they really don't want to bite, but they've been presented with something that they just can't pass up. All right, mates.